Hello everybody, so in the previous video we did the middle chain, which means we went to the side orthographic and we did the chain of the spine, the hips, up all the way to the neck, then the head, and then we also created the eyes. This video I'm also gonna introduce the concept of creating a plane that cuts into the mesh in order to make sure that we are placing the pivot points in the right place. But we are also going to add another button that I forgot to add in order to show the rotation of the bones and perhaps rotate the bones in the same structure. So if we select all of these guys in here, before we do that, let's make that button inside of display. We're gonna go to transform display, and here you have the local rotation axis. So this is where we're gonna select with Control and Shift modifiers into that button. So we have this little eyeball, and we're gonna drag this with the middle mouse button to here. Okay, cool. Now we're gonna select any bone. We're gonna click on hierarchy, so it selects everything. And then we're going to click on this toggle local rotation axis visibility. In here, we are going to have a number of bones, right? And this is something that I should have done in the very beginning earlier. The eyes, we're going to leave the eyes as it is. The eyes are fine. But here, you're going to see essentially a bunch of things that are there, and some of them are forward, some of them are back, and some of them are all over the shop. So we need to make sure that a lot of these rotations are following in the same way. So if I go back to Leo, this is some drawings that I did earlier to show the different chains. So that we're gonna do essentially this chain here, right? This one here, and we're doing this chain as well, but we're going to talk a little bit about orientation. So remember earlier here we've done these bones, right? Ideally you want to make sure that we've got the x-axis, and this is something that you can set to different like parameters for the studio. You got x, you got y, and you got z. And this is something that I want to give credit to one of my learners. I think it was someone at university, privacy reasons, I can't say who. But think about this, where you got the color red. But thank you to that person. You got red, you got green, and then you got blue, right? So you got essentially those three colors of the chain. And this is how we can remember this guy in here, right? Well, that's the worst screenshot that I've done in my life. So we go in here, and we got these guys here, right? So this is what you need to think about with each of those axes, right? And you'll get a lot of slots inside of Maya that you've got these empty boxes. And so each of those boxes, they don't say anything what they belong to, but it belongs to these different axes, right? So pay attention to those. So whenever you are looking to these pivot points, you need to think a little bit. The way that the bones are rotating is, say, if you got these bones, usually X is always pointing to the next bone, right? And that's a good rotation angle, or like, what's it called again? It's not the word I'm looking for. It's like orientation. And then you got the next X always pointing at the next bone. So that's usually very good. That's what you want. But then you got whatever axis is happening on the side. That's the rule that you need to define. It can be Y or it can be Z. But think about it this way. Say that you have a wheel. I'm going to use this Wacom thing. Say that this is the wheel, right, of the thing. And then you've got a pencil that is on the side of that wheel. So if I go full screen, I hope I remember to put it back in a second. You got that wheel on the side, and it's rotating this way on the side. So that should be your like z-axis or y-axis, whichever you want to set that as a deform, right? But then let's say that we do a little bit of pin the needles. Let me put some thinking what's called with. Yeah, sorry. I was having a bit of a brain fart just there for a second. But think about it this way. Think about acupuncture. Imagine that you've got one of these needles connected to each of those bones, and then another one here, and they're all following. So if you are rotating the same way, they are like rotating in the same form like this. So think of it as a needle that you've got like essentially connected to that point there. But it can also like think of it like the Hellraiser, like you've got instead of being in the skin, it's being essentially connected to each of those bones. So if this is a finger or a arm, you would have, say, to maintain a convention, like let's say Z could be in each of those joints sticking out this way, and this way, right? And now this is like looking from the top, so this will be like these things looking out this way, like so. So if you see this as a 3D orb, so let's say this is the bone there, it's like this is like this, and like so, right? You would get this guy there sticking out this way, then here on the side is sticking out this way, but then this will be in the direction that's coming from there, kind of a thing, right? But this is like pointing to the next bone. Next bone. This is like pointing up, and this is on the side, kind of a thing, right? And like I said earlier, this can be different as long as you have the wheel, then you have the next bone, and then you're pointing up to like the direction that everything is rotating, right? So ideally, and this is why whenever we are creating bones on the side or whatever, if I go bones, click, 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 something like that. Now we select this with the hierarchy. See these. Now you see how X is pointing towards this direction, that direction. So if these guys are rotating all the same, if I do this and you got this kind of motion with where things are rotating the right way, this is good. So think about it this way. So now if these are following a certain pattern, so now if we got like that chain here in the arm or whatever, imagine if this bone here has got a plane parented. So if we got plane, make this nice and big, and we have that, cool, that's there. Now you could perfectly, and let's make this a lot simpler, we could just parent that into that joint, and if we move this around, oh, you want to parent it to my joint. Alright, cool. So if we move this around like this, and we like, let's say that that's the arm or whatever, and let's say cool, so that's like something like this. The arm, because it's only moving in that same axis, we can go cool. So these guys there are going to only be rotating this way like this. You see what's happening there? That's really cool effect, by the way, that I've got there. And you're gonna get this weird motion, and those are good bones. You want bones that follow to that axis, and if you don't have this, no bueno. But if I delete this now, thank you, you've served your purpose. Are these now in the right direction, or are these in the right order? You got this one here, for example, Y is pointing, Z, X is pointing that way. For some reason, it's like, cool story, bruh. Then this one here is like forward, but then this guy here is backwards, and this is forward again. So we need to fix those. So let's go now to this script here where you got, where are you? Smart joint. So this is the SMJ. We're gonna select this fella here, and let's make the rule that this is the wheel, Y is the wheel, and Z is the pin needle in the back. This is where we're gonna go and click on this button here, and we're gonna change this to 90. I wish that was 90 was the default. And we're gonna go cool. This is where we can go this, like that, or like this the other way. We'll do one, another one, And that's fixed now. So now that's pointing backwards. Let's go here. 1. Go 1 and 2. And now that's fixed as well. Here with the head, let's maintain consistency. So that goes backwards. Oh, no. Let's undo that. Let's do that in here. Yes, I think that's the wrong one. Oh my goodness. Oh, wait a second. Why is that changed to 90? Sometimes when it comes to this is going to restart everything. Okay. And this is where now, if you collect on this one here, and it says here orient joints, if you click on that, sometimes we'll fix it. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cheat with that. I'm just gonna go. You know what? Because this is the end, it's not too important. But this is where maybe we can do that a little bit by hand. We're just gonna go here, left view. And that's pretty good to me. We got that in the back as well, and then we got that pointing that direction, so that's pretty close to me. Let's go around here and let's change all of this. This is where we can go 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So we can do this all together in one go. And let's make sure that the Z is pointing backwards. So we're gonna go Z, rotate. Me cago la puta. Yeah, like that. Let's do that with a 90. Is it me or it does it keep on changing? Go 1 and 2. So that goes in the back. Okay, cool. Let's do that one more time. We go 1 and then 2. 1, 2. And then we go here, this one, 1, and then 2. And ironically, we just have to put those back to 0. This guy here. It has changed backwards a little bit for some reason. It might be better to just put everything to, no, let's not do it like that. And live, we are breaking everything in front of everyone. This is fantastic. Okay, I'm very disappointed that this is so broken. This is where maybe I'm gonna use the script here, orient joint. So now that is fixed. And now I can go, hold on a second, go that backwards. Like so. Gonna undo that and one more time and change that back to 90. It's a great script. It keeps changing. I love it. Alright, cool. We got that 90. And now if we rotate that backwards, you know for certain that's working okay if this is colliding into the other stuff. So if I go like that, and that's right in the middle there, so that's good. And that's cutting between that. So you see how there's something off. So we go front view. This might be worth redoing some of those joints again if that's not rotating the right way. So this guy here should be like so, right in the middle there. So let's change that a bit more. So let's go a bit more refined. That should be right in the middle there. Okay. So now we go like that in the middle. That looks like it is going right in the middle there. It might be a good idea just to go 0 here. 0, 0. And that looks like it's okay now. Yeah. That will do it. The eye's now there. We'll need to move it a bit forward and maybe like so. That's hilarious. Maybe parenting this too early was not a good idea. Again, like I said, this is a learning exercise. So then when you do it with your proper character, then you're not messing it up, right? Cool. Then we got the back there. And those all look fine. Cool. Now we got the orientation for that. It's 50 minutes. Great. A lot of time. Let's do a trick where we're going to split this into 2 panels. So we're going to go panel. Layouts. Do side by side. And this is a very cool trick. It's this recent discovery of mine. That essentially what we can do is create a plane that follows with an orthographic, and then we create the points, and it will follow that system. But it's a little bit strange to set up. So let's save this first. Let's go save as center. Bounce. Let's go now into create a construction plane. Let's make this construction plane nice and big. So let's set this to 200, something nice and big. Let's do that a little bit less, actually. So something like that. Let's do a plane that it is just as a means and a guide to follow. I have noticed that setting this live with this plane can be, it doesn't work very well. So what I recommend is make this small, and then this is parented with this with a constraint to parent. So go, you are the master of you. Parent with everything, apply. Oh, let's maintain offset. Cool, apply. So now if this guy moves, la 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 la, that plane moves with that, so we know how things are cutting. And we're gonna do one more thing. We're gonna go orthographic. Orthographic. Let's go panels. New orthographic front. And what this is gonna do is, if we go orthographic front here, front one, let's call this plain cut or whatever. Cool. Let's make sure that this guy here also is parented here, but we are able to move back and forward quite easily. So if we go in here, we're going to be able to zoom in and out to that camera plane. But if I move this around, I'm going to be able to see it's going to move the orthographic on the other side. It's going to be a very interesting weird thing. But if I go, we're not moving it with this one. Actually, we are moving this guy. So now if we go around, let's say we go, I want to make the clavicle. The clavicle, we can do it by hand. It's not too big, but let's try it on that one. We're going to rotate that in the middle there. And we go, cool. So now we know for certain that's where it's going to be cut. Let's go front view. For the clavicle, it's going to be around yay. So we're going to make sure that that's starting from there. We can now move the pivot point. I mean, to that point there. And now we can say, cool, so that's going to be like rotating around like yay or something like that, right? To follow that joint, that area of the bone, and now that area of the shoulder, and now we can say, cool, that's kind of like rotating around yet to follow that curvature of the clavicle there. So now that we got this, let's say that we're happy with this. I'll make catches. I was moving the wrong one all this time. Sorry, it's late at night. I shouldn't be doing this right now. I should be playing video games. Hey, I wonder if that student is now playing video games at home and having a great time while I'm just working overtime for him, making this video. Cool. So now that we got this, let's make this now into live. Make live, And now when I place those bones there, you should be able to see see-through. One last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make this plane here see-through. So I'm just going to make this into a new material. Call this Lambert or whatever. Make this a little bit transparent so we can see through underneath him. And this is where I can create a new bone. So I can say, because that's live now, we can do it from here. We can go create skeleton, create joints, and we can go cool. Around the middle of the mass is like around, we can say around yay. We can start a new bone here. Dude, work for me. We got a new bone there. And then we do a new one. And you can see on my left screen, you see how it's being generated. And now we got the clavicles happening exactly on that plane. Because if you create bones, it's kind of weird. I don't know how to explain it. But if you create bones in 3D space anywhere, it just makes bones wherever it wants or on the grid. But you always need to do bones orthographic on the side or on the front. But then the arm in A pose, it's got a very weird angle, and the legs as well. So you need to like move them, position, rotate them, scale them. It's a mess. But if you do this system, it's actually pretty good. Like it's very straightforward, and then you don't need to rotate or anything. Like things just go into place. And now you can just go cool. So this guy will parent to this one. So you go child, father, and press P. And now that's the clavicle. They're connected. And then you got from the shoulder going downwards, right? But we don't need to parent that right now. We can leave it floating because we're going to mirror this in a minute. And it's better to do the mirroring later when you've got the whole chain made up. So let's now move this plane around. Let's go cool. Let's try to match. Actually, I think this guy here needs to be a little bit less transparent. Material attributes. Let's make this, and let's change the color. It's a very boring color. Cool, something like that. Let's rotate that into place. Oh, I need to make sure that I'm only moving this one here. Yeah, cool. I wish there was like a way to lock that plane so I can never move it. So this is where now I'm gonna check here. Ideally, you move this to the elbow, the back of the elbow there. And then you go cool. You pivot point to that vertice there. So your elbow should be like around there maybe. Like so. And so this is where you should rotate from there and be like the center mass is around there. So if I had to draw a circle of that area there, it should be like, this is the mass. And it should be around, like if you got that, the mass, it should be like around there, right? So we have to make sure that plane is cutting from there. But if you look at the elbow of the anatomy, so you go elbow, elbow, elbow anatomy, and this is why like when you're doing sculpting or anything like that, you need to make sure that let's do elbow arm. Great, we got 1,000 images here and not one makes me happy to show us the elbow. Well, that's a terrible one. Oh my god, people have got injuries and stuff. Great, not a single elbow is great to show me. I just want to see the back. So this part here, this part. So you see how you got this little like triangle kind of thing over here. So you need to make sure that plain line cut is done through here as well, right? And then around the middle of the wrist. So let's continue. Okay, so I had a bit of a, let's call it as a hiccup that happens sometimes. I think the stress of me trying to perform while teaching something and being entertaining and following the steps, just doing it on the fly. this late at night, then sometimes I crash. So I'm gonna do something. So I'm just gonna create a construction plane. So we got that plane there. We are going to do an actual plane, but with this plane here, it's gonna have the same position. So I'm just gonna go T, do this, gonna rotate this like that, 90 degrees. I'm gonna make sure that this guy there is already done something weird. Thank you so much. Match to that. Cool. What we're gonna do is, again, make sure that it's got that existing material, Lambert 2, whatever. And then we're gonna have that same orthographic front. Go orthographic front, new front. Okay, so that is going to be like these two are gonna parent to this. So I'm gonna go children, parent to this. And I'm gonna go, master, slave, parent. Cool. And I'm gonna do the same with this one here, master, slave, master, constraint, parent. And now those have got the same constraints. The next thing I'm gonna do is to make sure that I don't select those things by accident. I'm gonna make a new layer called flat cut or something like that. And I'm gonna set those two objects, add selected objects to here and press R. So I cannot accidentally select those anymore and move them, because I kept doing that because I am a doofus. And that's done. Now here, this is where I can go perspective. And now I can move this around. And let's do those cuts again. And if I go, I hate my life right now. Okay. Fish. That's crazy. If after doing this, it still collapses, I'm gonna just give up. I'm just gonna be like, you know what? Good night. Bye. Alright. Master plane. Constraint parent. Tin. G. Now, let's try that one more time. Okay. Cool. I just... Alright, let's not do any scale with this, but let's make sure that this guy here is like scaled to like a general size. Let's not do any scaling after this. And this guy here is now like that. And now let's do the parenting. Let's go. Cool. And now, if I rotate this and move, whatever, that's fine. Cool. So let's do the arm again. So let's go front view. Get that cut as straight as possible. So I am using the center of the plane there to be like, okay, so this is where my wrist is, and I'm gonna go like that. So around there. And then I'm gonna go cool. I'm just gonna rotate that in this perspective here. So it's just like I'm just using 2 planes there. I'm trying to see where the cut is in the middle of the elbow there. So that's kind of matching there kind of nicely. But then this is where it should be like around yay. So maybe I'm gonna move this slightly a bit more like that. Cool. Then I'm gonna go back. And now this is where I might see this in 3D to get that perfect cut. I think this is as good as it gets, mate. Cool. And now, and this is the thing, like now I cannot select the plane or anything. I can only select this. So now I can go select right click, make live. It works. And now this is where I'm gonna do the bones. Hopefully this time it will work. Cool. Oh, funnily enough, I cannot. Because it's being locked to the plane. So I need to like do that. That's hilarious. Okay, cool. Let's do it this way. Alright, cool. So now this is where we go. Bones. Make bones. I feel like a noob right now. Maybe I am a noob. Maybe I shouldn't be teaching this. We go bone. So you need to go from here and then move that there to the center. Then you got the elbow there. Around like that line there. So make sure that you follow that to that same geometry around yay. And then you got the wrist. Like check that line there. So man, it's very finicky. It doesn't. Yeah, maybe it's not the best technique to do this. Around yay. And this is where now I'm gonna go in 3D and then see cool how those have been placed. And this is where you can do a sanity check. So if I rotate that, it should be rotating on the same plane. So if I go like that, you can see that's rotating on the same plane. And it is going to like kiss, or it's gonna like essentially connect to that part there, you see? So that's like intersecting into itself. So that's a good sign. Cool. And you see here, I think that could be more like pushed around there to that line. So this guy here, we can just move it on the translate on this one here into like it reaches like around yay maybe. So we got that extra guy there to add the deformation, and that works. And then this guy here as well. So the elbow would be like around yay. So maybe we can push that back a little bit, like so, like around there maybe. Yeah. Yeah. I think this is pretty good. Okay. Now this becomes the child of this. Press P. And now we can do some of the fingers. For the fingers, we could do a whole separate video. I don't know. Let's do the fingers as a separate video because the fingers are complicated. But before we continue, let's do some names for this. Now, this bone here has got no weights or no influence. So I'm gonna call this an end. So I'm gonna call this one here, which just happens. Now that I'm looking at this clavicle bone there, I'm gonna move it more like around there. So I'm just gonna deparent that for a second. And I'm gonna take out the live because I do not want this to be live anymore. This here, I'm gonna rotate this slightly like so. Gonna move that like yay. And I'm gonna try to follow, if we go in the top view, I'm gonna try to follow that geometry, and you see these 4 corners there. I'm gonna try to match that as close as possible to this angle there. So I'm gonna say around the middle there is around yay. And this is why when you do rotopology, you like the rotopology needs to be king with your rigging and like where you place the boats and where the things need to be deformed. And if that's not like matching perfectly, then it kind of almost like misses the point. I almost want to like match this bone here to match to that. Same thing there. But now I'll have to maybe rotate that around there a little bit. And I think, let's have a look at this in 3D. Move. Yeah. 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 Sure. Why not? This is where I like to freeze some of the rotations. Gonna freeze the rotation there. This position and stuff like that, that's okay. But this guy here, I want to freeze it. Freeze. Rotation, so it's clean. This guy here, again, let's freeze it. Freeze. Rotation. These numbers, it doesn't matter too much. They can be the way they are there. That's fine. Because a lot of this will change once we do the parenting. And this guy here, if I look at it on the side there, we can match a bit more like, say, like yay, something like that. Cool, that works for me. Okay. Because we're going to be moving down mass together with this. So this is where we go. Connect to this one here. Peep. Cool. And let's do some names. This one here. And we can hide this for a second. This plane. We'll use it in a second. Oh, that pink was driving me nuts. It's almost like pink's my favorite color all of a sudden. Let's call this Nick. Clavicle. Pretty cool. This is now his left side. Let's copy that. And this music is nice, but at the same time I'm like, this is an end because it's like, it's not an end. End should be the end, but I don't want to have any influence there. The influence is going to be here, but this is because it's such a broken orientation, and it's like off track a little bit. Then what I'm going to do is like, cool, like I'm just going to break that, but the influence is not going to be there, so don't put any weights on that bone, right? Then this is, we got a neck underscore L underscore shoulder underscore GNT. Then this is the neck, it's an elbow, elbow, and this is the wrist. Cool. Let's do the next video. And it's 14 minutes, and let's do fingers next, which is going to be fun to do. Okay, we'll do one set, and then we'll try to like go around and just copy paste around. Okay, I'll see you guys soon.